Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the history of the Trial of Chivalry with the life and death of Cavaliero Dick Bowyer. As it hath been lately acted by the Right Honourable the Earl of Derby, his servants. It was printed in 1605, but the putative performance dates somewhere 1599, 1600, which means this is probably, unless there's another play that I've accidentally missed from my list, possibly the last play from the 16th century we will read for the first time. We have got some translations and little other things from this period to do, but otherwise this is our last one. We have a lot of text to get through, and we don't quite have enough readers, as some people haven't come online. Hopefully they will appear in the room. Otherwise we may talk to ourselves in an amusing way. So reading today, Philip and Bowyer is
Alan, based in Stafford.
Reading Lewes, Burbon, Thomasin, and possibly Bellamira as well is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in Essex.
Reading Rodorick, Painter, and Forester is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I have fruit basket with nuts.
Excellent. I thought I was going to catch you just as you were taking a sip, but I just mistimed it. Reading Flanders, Katharina, and Fisherman is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm a teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Ferdinand and Lieutenant is...
Alexandra, and I frequently talk to myself in funny voices, so this will be easy.
Yes, great.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading Pembroke, Navar, and various other people as well. And in fact, we're all probably going to be reading some other people as we go on. And we'll figure this out as we go. Otherwise, we're just going to talk to ourselves in amusing ways because, hey, we've started, so we have to finish. So, without further ado, Scene 1. Enter Lewes, King of France, Philip, his son, Katharina, his daughter, Rodorick, and Flanders with drums and colours, and soldiers at one door. At the other enter Navar, Ferdinand, Bellamira, and the Earl of Pembroke and Burbon.
Duke Rodorick and my noble cousin Flanders, are your battalions ready for the charge?
10,000 men of Orleans I command, and those are bravely marshalled on the plain, ready to be commanded by your highness.
As many of the warlike brood of Mars do call me general, those, my gracious lord, together with myself, I recommend to your command to be commanded by your majesty.
Thanks, Earl of Flanders, Duke of Orleans, thanks. What lets us that we charge not on the foe?
My lord of Pembroke, are your Englishmen's squadron with ours and ready for the charge? The French and English make one warlike body, whereof your highness is the moving head, or peace or war, as pleaseth you, direct. Then war, and give the signal through the host.
Navar, submission were more meet than to add blood to wrong.
What wrong, King Lewes? The kingdom of Navarre we will acknowledge to hold but none, but of the King of Kings.
300 years prescriptions on our sides. So long thy ancestors by fealty have held thy kingdom of the crown of France.
Talk not of years. Years limit not a crown. There's no prescriptions to enthrall a king. He finds it written in the rolls of time. Navarre's a kingdom solely absolute and by collusion of the kings of France, because it lies so fitly upon France. The people are speaking all one mother tongue. It hath been wrested for a royalty, untruly due unto the crown of France. That Pembroke speaks the truth. Behold my sword, which shall approve my words substantial.
Pembroke, you are too plain in your discourse.
I tell thee, Rodorick, Pembroke soldier-like hath truly opened what 10,000 lives will hardly do, if war be made the judge.
If war be judge, why shall a witted Burbon, who shall decide this difference but war? Hath not the judge put on his scarlet robe? Is not the field prepared, our men in armour, the trumpets ready for the sound of death? And nothing hinders us but our own words? Leave idle parley, my dread sovereign lord, and soon resolve the duke in fire and smoke that he maintains a title false and forged, and that Navarre is a usurping lord.
On that I'll hazard all these valiant lives. Sound drums and trumpets, make King Lewes know. He makes his best friend prove his greatest foe.
Why pause our drums, our trumpet speakers loud, till the bright air be made a purple cloud?
Pause, gracious father.
Noble father, pause. Let Ferdinand thy son so far prevail that peace, not war, may end this difference.
For Bellamira's sake, abstain from war.
Philip, thy son, humbly desires a peace. Let not my father sheath his warlike sword within the bowels of his countrymen.
Thy daughter Katharina prays the like.
From whence proceeds this sudden sound of peace? Comes it from me? What, from my Ferdinand? From Bellamira, my sweet second self?
Or rather comes it loose from thy soul, thy Philip, the true image of thyself, thy Katharina, thy heart's chiefest joy?
Princes, you ask you know not what yourselves.
Rodorick, they ask a sweet and pleasing boon.
What, they ask peace, and we are set for war.
'Tis a bad peace succeeds, not a just war.
We will not rise from this submissive ground till we obtain, if not a peace, a truce.
Nor shall our feet be guilty of new steps till I obtain a truce from murdering war.
Show me some reason, son, for this demand.
Show me some reason, children, for this prayer.
I love the daughter of thine enemy. Fair Katharina hath enthralled my heart.
I love the daughter of thine enemy. Fair Bellamira hath enthralled my heart.
Is love the cause? When wherefore wage we war? What matter is who wears both diadems when the succession lives in either's heir? If Ferdinand be crowned King of Navar, fair Katharina shall be crowned his queen. If Philip wear the diadem of France, fair Bellamira, made his lovely queen, sways half the sceptre. See what heaven can do, provide for peace, even in the jaws of war.
How sweetly doth the Earl of Pembroke speak. Now trust me, I am ravished with his voice.
What says Navar? What is it? War or peace?
A truce. For 3 months, so it please your highness, during which time our children shall have leave, with drum and trumpet, to survey the camp, to court our daughters, and to feast themselves as fits the sons of honourable foes. And if it prove a match between them both, here end all difference. I'll bequeath my crown as a rich offering to their nuptial rites.
Here, strike the truce upon my kingly hand, which is as surely ratified in this as by the testimonial of a world. So now, for 3 months' space, all wars surcease. Our thoughts are wholly fixed on love and peace.
And exeunt everyone apart from Rodorick and Burbon.
Zoons, here's a truce made up by miracle.
I'll cross it by a wily stratagem.
What stratagem?
By love to Bellamira. Oh, could I dive into the prince's heart by any insinuation ne'er so base? How easily might I effect my plot to make the kingdom of Navar mine own? 'Twere but a dram or so unto the sun, and a small thing would send the old man hence. What, noble Rodorick, to gain a crown, a duke would do much.
More than poison too. But you, my lord, forget yourself too far. Know you to whom you have disclosed your heart?
Why, to the Duke of Orleans.
The dear friend of Lewes, the French king.
King me no kings. Although we seem to be of several... Sorry, guys, outside my house is just, they're drilling. It's like they've just chosen this specific moment to start drilling.
Can't hear it, actually.
It's
Okay.
very faint.
audible.
Okay, sorry. King me no kings. Although we seem to be of several sides, Roderick, we love together like true friends. This truce gives aim to our intention. Assist me, worthy Orleans, to effect first my desired love, and next the crown.
Peter de Leon is your lordship's servant, a boon companion and a lusty knave. He is in love with Bellamira's maid, and by that love he may bestead your highness, more than your best friends and your best designs. Call him forth.
Ah, yes, and we can call forth Peter, who has just entered the room, if Briony is ready.
Peace. Script has not yet entered.
Okay. I'm just going to briefly pause then. And so we have the entrance to Burbon and Rodorick of Peter.
What, Peter?
Here, my lord.
Why dost thou look so wildly?
Not with drink, nor yet with rage.
His looks are wild with love.
With love, sir reverence. Can there be a face in all the world patched up with eyes and lips, a forehead and a pair of crimson cheeks to make me duet on, to make me look wild?
Come, 'tis known that you love Thomasin.
Zoons. They that know that know my heart and all. I have not the power to deny it. 'Tis most true.
And 'tis most true that I love Bellamira. Now if thou art in favour of thy wench, many a meeting thou mayst help me to, and learn besides what suitors seek her love, and whom she most affects. These things once known, 'twere worth a dukedom, Peter.
Splud, give me a dukedom, and I'll warrant you the knowledge of these things 10 times o'er.
There is angels for thee, Peter. Think on them, and do thy best to help thy master's love. Well, howsoever I smooth it to the Duke, my thoughts are bent on his destruction.
You have my heart in your purse. I'll do anything for you.
And thou shalt want no gold. And so, farewell.
Exeunt Rodorick and Burbon, leaving Peter.
I cannot choose but farewell, and have the good angels to comfort me. Yet I am melancholy. Here's gold to make me merry. Oh, but hey-ho, here's love to make me sad. To avoid prolixity, I am crossed with a suitor that wants a piece of his tongue, and that makes him come lisping home. They call him Cavaliero Bowyer. He will have no nay, but the wench. By these hilts, such another swashbuckler lives not in the 9 quarters of the world. Why, he came over with the Earl of Pembroke, and he limps, and he limps, and he devours more French ground at 2 paces than will serve Thomasin at 19. If ever he speak French to avoid prolixity, he will murder the tongue. I'll provide for him. There's but small choice. Either he shall renounce the wench, or forsake his lame legs, his lisping tongue, and his life too. For by Saint Denis, I had rather die in a ditch than be bobbed of my fair Thomasin.
Exit Peter. And we'll briefly pause there. So we've got, shall we say, an A-plot here. We've got division between parts of France. Who's going to be king? We've got dual successions here. Oh, well, if our children marry each other, it's fine. We don't need to worry about who's fighting over things. So that's the solution. Let's all stop and be terribly chivalric for a bit. Let's do that for a while. Meanwhile, some additional plotting's going on. Complications. Characters being described. Cavaliero Bowyer is being described in interesting terms of. So yeah, we're getting a quite efficient bit of setup here, quite lively material. Thoughts on the room briefly before we move on. Everyone's going to be very brief, I can tell. Eric.
I was thinking at the beginning, I thought this was sort of like a setup like the Battle of Alcazar, where you've got sort of opposing factions on either side of a battlefield, but apparently they're actually talking to each other, so I have no idea what's going on, aside from, because there's no actual screaming across a battlefield kind of thing. It's more like, there will be war, and they're all dressed up for war, kind of, they're kind of not.
Yes, it's Warus Interruptus. They're gearing up and doing come and have a go if you think you're hard enough at the beginning, and then they go, actually, shall we try peace? Have you considered peace? It's quite nice. Marriage, peace. Alexandra.
I just want to point out that yes, this is how it goes, and then as soon as they leave, the people left behind go, well, that's not going to work for me. I tell you what, let's have a stratagem, because I think if I can get the daughter of the one dude and get the kingdom of the same or the other one, yeah, it's all very kind of clear. In fact, I think it could be very clear on stage, even though there are so many names. An understanding of the factions and of exactly who we're referring to.
Yes, I think once presented, actually, it makes sense. I think it doesn't help that we don't quite have enough readers, so that I am being literally on entirely different sides of the battlefield, or the potential battlefield, and also that our script, going with an original spelling, has Lewes rather than Louis, which is, I think, where that's supposed to be going, or Lewis, I suppose, depending on how you want to go with that, but Louis, it would be more accurate. Anyway, let us go forward into Scene 2, see how all this develops, see what we get. So, enter at one door Philip and Rodorick, a drummer before them, with his drum at his back. At the other door, Ferdinand and Pembroke, with their drummer.
Whither goes Royal Philip thus prepared?
On what adventure goes Prince Ferdinand?
Conquer all the world, fair Katharine, whose beauty in mine eyes surmounts it far. Virtue and love conducts me to your sister.
On the like voyage of my fortunes bound, I go to win thy sister.
Some fair star on our great hopes shine fair and debonair.
Amen, saith Pembroke.
Amen, saith Rodorick.
This way my love dwells.
In this air breathes mine.
Farewell.
Farewell. Prince Ferdinand, if these cross loves enjoy a wished success, peace here shall dwell.
And we be friendly brothers.
True. Farewell.
Farewell.
Exeunt Philip and Roderick. Pity such true love, which, like blessed seed, sown in such fertile soil, his princely breast, by the rough stormy brow and winter's hate of adverse parents, should be timeless nipped, and die ere to attain maturity. For I have heard the princess whom he serves is hotly courted by the Duke of Bourbon, who, to effect his choice, hath in these wars furnished your father with a gallant power. His love may haply then disable Philip's.
Oh, no, my father doth affect the prince. Besides, my sister's heart is so combined to his in perfect love that Bourbon's hate nor all the world that not can separate. Then sorrow not for him, but turn the stream of gentle pity on thy wretched friend, within whose bosom love hath kindled fire so ardent that the flames will bury me. Philip is thrown in my sister's eyes, but in my love disdain and hatred lies.
Doth she not pay true kindness with the like?
As stepdames, orphans, night the clear-faced day, so doth she hate me, and return my woes like a steeled anvil backward on myself. She is all hate, yet such a lovely foe that I must kiss the sword that wounds me so.
Inter these thoughts. This is her father's tent. Drum, give a friendly summons to the king.
Forbear a while, dear Pembroke, by our vows, which in the book of heaven are registered, by all the rights of friendship, by that love thou bearest thy native country, I conjure thee, this day, to be the trumpet of my worth, to speak the passions of thy grieved friend to Katharine's ears, till those pure ivory gates, pierced with the volley of thy battering words, give way to my laments, to touch her heart. For this have I extracted thee from many, made thee my fellow pilgrim to her shrine, knowing thy thoughts from love's religion free. When my prayers fail, thy tongue may plead for me.
Must I be spokesman? Pembroke plead for love, whose tongue, tuned to the instruments of war, never knew strain of fancy on my breath. Affection never dwelt but war and death. But if thou lovest to have thy soldiers fight or hearten the spent courages of men, Pembroke would use a style invincible. Lov'st thou a town? I'll teach thee how to woo her with words of thunder bullets wrapped in fire, till with thy cannon battery she relent, and humble her proud heart to stoop to thee. Or, if not this, then mount thee on a steed, whose courage never awe denying bit, and thou shalt hear me hollow to the breast, and with commanding accents master him. This courtship Pembroke knows. But idle love? The slick-faced object of an amorous brain did never clothe mine eyeballs, never taught this tongue inured to broils and stratagems, to the passionate language of a troubled heart. I am too blunt and rude for such nice service. Yet, since my friend enjoys me to this task, take courage. I'll both speak, plead, woo for thee, and then I'll want fit words to move her mind. I'll draw my sword and swear she must be kind. Drummer, report our presence to the king. A parley, and answered. Enter France, Flanders, and attendants.
Prince Ferdinand, and honoured English Pembroke, now by St. Denis, welcome. One straight, and give our daughter notice of these guests. What's man? We know you come prepared to woo, to win. Now by our sacred life, we wish in soul our daughter were your wife. Our son is with your sister, fair hap wait, for peace or war lives in your love or hate. Welcome once more. First we'll go see your love, after to banquet, and from thence to woo. Be merry, then we'll share a friendly part, but you shall triumph in our daughter's heart.
And they exit. We're going to go straight into scene 3. Enter Katharina, her man Bowyer, and a painter.
See that the tent be ready furnished. By this my father and the lords are met, amongst whom the noble Pembroke, like the sun, outshines the borrowed glory of the rest. And well I may compare him to the sun, that once but looked upon his fair shape hath dazzled my poor senses and left me blind. But, sirrah, where's the man I bade you bring?
If you can judge of colours, madam, this is he. Painter, stand forth.
An earnest cause, my friend, importunes me, wherein I am to crave thy cunningest art.
Such as it is, you may command, fair princess.
But are thy colours fresh, thy pencil smooth, thy hand unwavering, and thy head dislodged of all unquiet harsh encumbrances? For thou must draw proportions of those parts whose worth to tell my tongue wants utterance.
Fear you not, madam, I am well prepared.
Then hither straight with youthful Ferdinand, Navar's stout son, there comes an English knight. Pembroke they call him, honorably born. Him, whilst we are in conference, thou shalt mark, and to the life set down his counterfeit. Nor it is needful I should show him thee, the goodliest person in the train. That's he.
Let me alone to give the painter destruction. I know him as well as the beggar knows his dish. He wears a white scarf in his hat and an orange tawny feather upon his arm.
Fool, indirectly thou describest another. That's Prince Navar. Pembroke, his plume is azure, a little intermixed with spotless white, prefiguring the temper of the sky, whose high motion his great mind doth move.
Orange, tawny, and azure, all's one. All is but feather. There's no difference, I'm sure, but in colour.
Why, that's as much as may be, is it not?
Not so. I'll prove the contrary. You are fair, and I am foul. Is that all the difference between you and I? There's another thing in it, if you mark it well.
I prithee, peace, and with thy ignorance draw not the painter likewise in error. Here, take thy stand, thou knowest him by these marks I lately spake of, to seem to excel thine art, and I will study to requite thy pains.
Enter Louis, Ferdinand, Pembroke, Rodorick, and Flanders.
Thus did the Greeks, when they begirt the walls of strong-built Troy, sometimes with friendly check entertain peace, and spend their frolic hours in courtly feasting of each other foe. Welcome, young Ferdinand. I promise you, it cheers my spirit we do embrace you here. And welcome too, brave lord, we cannot say, as if we were in Paris, we might say, your viands shall be costly, but presume, such as the camp affords, will have the best. Daughter, I prithee bid them welcome.
My lord, I do, and with that congee of a bended knee, but this with my true heart's loyalty. Lords, you are welcome, by my father's leave.
Why, now thou dost content thy father, Kate, when wholly unto merriment inclined, thou answerest with like sympathy of mine.
But yet her looks are haggard and obscure, which makes me doubtful she'll not stoop to lure.
Princes, let's enter. Come, I'll lead the way. The feast is mine. You are my guests this day.
Now, Pembroke, show thy friendship's true effect. Obtain her love, my life thou shalt protect.
And they exit apart from Katharina and Pembroke.
He stays behind the rest, O happy hour. Work on the sweet painter to enrich mine eyes with that which else procures my tragedy.
Fair, madam. In this confluence of sweet joy, when everyone resorts unto the feast, methinks you should not thus retire alone, as seeming your best fare were heavy moan.
I am not, sir, alone, nor do I starve. My appetite with any wilful fast, I have a banquet of sweet pleasing thoughts that is more precious than the costliest feast.
But at your father's board there sits a guest, to whom the cup of Ganymede will seem but juice of hemlock, and the daintiest dish as much unsavoury as the pumice stone, unless your presence season his delight.
I am sorry, I want skill to serve his diet. I have not been instructed to such end.
But I will teach you, madam, if you please.
Rather the party grieved first should show wherein we err, else how can we discern what is our fault, or how we may amend?
That office he commits unto my tongue.
Is he not able to speak himself?
Yes, madam, I have heard when Ferdinand, with whom in Padua I was conversant, so spake in the assembly of the learned, with such a grace and well-composed phrase, as many thought grave Tully's eloquence flowed like a honey river from his lips.
He wanteth then be like sufficient courage.
Never lived knight less prejudiced in that. And I'm passing over to Briony.
Never lived knight less prejudiced in that than valiant Ferdinand, whom I have seen couch his staff lance with such dexterity, as if the god of battle had himself entered the lists and pressed into the midst of steel-composed troops like lightning fly, till he had made a passage with his sword.
So puissant in his fortitude with men, and daunted by a silly woman's looks? How can that be?
Yes, when you weigh the force of your resistless and controlling beauty, it is your beauty where his power and spirit, 10 times more haughty, venturous than it is, compels it stoop in homage to your foot, as trembling lambs when they to lions couch.
'Tis well he chose so good an orator to plead the imperfection of his cause.
I should have that opinion of myself, if for my sake your grace would favour him.
Yes, for your sake we have endured his name, and for your sake we tolerate his suit. But when you cease to speak, then all that praise you have attributed to his desert seems borrowed from yourself. You are the man whose eloquence compared with Cicero's. You are the man whose knightly fortitude lives in a world unprejudiced of any. You vanquished beauty and enthrall the mind of female weakness with no lesser awe than Indian vassals stoop unto their lords. The name of Ferdinand you have mista'en. Say 'tis yourself, and then the whole discourse observes the perfect method that it should.
Should I be false and treacherous to my friend? I am entreated but to speak for him.
but for yourself would be more acceptable. Oh, pardon me. No, nor let immodest strain cleave to my brow. My love is chastely bred. Other than Pembroke, Catherine never vows to be enthronized in her maiden thoughts.
Mistake me not, I say 'tis Ferdinand dies in affection to your deity.
But in affection I survive to none, but only Pembroke.
Will you be esteemed a cruel murderess or of a loyal friend?
Will Pembroke triumph in a woman's fall?
You anger me. Respect young Ferdinand.
You please me not to speak of Ferdinand.
Nay, then 'tis time to go, or wrong my friend, since, madam, what I would I cannot do. Mine honour here bids me leave off to woo.
And exit Pembroke.
Stay, Pembroke, Catherine will sue to thee. So shalt thou keep thy faith and loyalty.
Tarry, sir, tarry. We want the length of your nose. Nay, if you will not hear, I'll be so bold as to follow your nose. Sir, tarry, tarry.
Exit Bowyer.
He will not hear, nor, too unkind, look back.
But madam, despite his heart, you shall see this.
Give me his picture. Image far more kind than is the substance whence thou art derived. Which way soever I divert myself, thou seemst to follow me with a loving eye.
Enter Ferdinand.
Thee will I therefore hold within mine arms, and some small comfort to increasing harms.
What means my second self by this long stay? I cannot rest till I be certified what good or bad success my suit returns. But he is gone, and in fair Catherine's hand I see his picture. What may this pretend?
Thou hast done well indeed. In every part thou showest complete and cunning workmanship. His eye, his lip, his cheek are rightly framed. But one thing thou hast grossly overslipped. Where is his stubborn and unrelenting heart that lurks in secret as his master doth, disdaining to regard or pity me?
Madam, his heart must be imagined by the description of his outward parts.
Oh no, for then it would be tractable, mild, and applausive as the others be.
No prince, but Pembroke dwells in Catherine's eye, whose that disturbs our pleasing solitude. Know you not me? My name is Ferdinand, whose faithful love Lord Pembroke late commenced.
Speak you then for Pembroke as he did for you, or else your bootless suit will soon be cold.
Why, he was orator in my behalf. If I should speak for him as he for me, then should I breathe forth his passions, not mine own. Aye, 'tis so. The villain in my name hath purchased her affection for himself, and therefore was he absent from the feast, and therefore shuns my sight, and leaves behind this counterfeit to keep him still in mind.
Enter Bowyer.
'Tis so, base traitor, for this wrong my sword shall cut out thy perfidious tongue.
Exit Ferdinand.
I've run till I sweat till my shirt cleaves to my back, cried till I'm hoarse, and I'm hoarse till I cannot cry, yet he will not come back.
No matter, fellow. I have here a pledge which I will zealously devote me to.
Enter Louis.
There's thy reward. Withdraw, my father comes.
Where are these lords? The one hath sate with me, and suddenly is risen from the board. The other came not at all. Daughter, saw you the prince or Pembroke? Which way are they gone?
Back to their tents, my lord, as I suppose.
Back to their tents, and take no leave of us? Nay, then I fear their meaning was too smooth, and some black treason covered in their smiles, which we will seek immediately to prevent.
And exeunt. So it's all falling apart pretty quickly, isn't it? I mean, we had this plan in the beginning of the scene. Let's all sit down, have a do a bit of wooing, and it'll all be lovely. And immediately it's gone horribly wrong. Pembroke and Ferdinand have agreed, one to woo for the other because that always works, and Katharina's commissioning some some private images for herself. I don't quite know what's going on there. It's all gone a bit pear-shaped. Ferdinand is a bit miffed that it's gone wrong and thinks that it's some betrayal has occurred. So nice little scenes there. Lynn.
Well, not only that, but so the Navar France match doesn't look like it's going to work out, and then the France Navar match is being undermined by Bourbon, who is in love with Bellamira. I mean, Bellamira and Philip seem to be a love match, but there are powerful people trying to undermine that as well. So both these political / love matches are at least in question at the very least. Oops.
Alexandra.
It's not a love match if she can't stand you, dude. Like, Ferdinand, take a hint. No. This is Ferdinand. I was reading him, and it's interesting because from his own perspective, and just in the way that his lines run, he doesn't sound like a terrible person, but he is very clearly pursuing this woman that has not only no interest in him, but actually he thinks effectively dislikes him. And he goes, hey, could you put in a good word for me? And then when that doesn't work, immediately jumps to the conclusion that, he's wooed for himself, as opposed to just, she doesn't like you, dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, Pembroke's really interesting. It's been shared between me and Briony. I missed some bits there because I had to nip out. But it is that thing of just going, I'm not very good at this. Why are you asking me to do? I do fighting. Do you not notice the fighting thing? And then he sort of actually is quite good, actually. And she's going, hi. Oh, no, not the plan. Not the plan. Oh, dear. Though, yeah, it doesn't have to sound that way. Thoughts in the room before we move on? Any more? Lynn?
So we have a bunch of essentially French characters. Navarre, as they say, a French-speaking country, culturally French. But the really noble one and the really attractive one is English.
Of course. Well, that's perfectly reasonable. Elizabeth and Eric.
Yeah, the drive to unmute myself. No, I really love the exchange between the painter and the other two characters. I thought that was fantastic. I love the way they were just constantly questioning whether the painter knew how to do his job as well. And I thought that was quite humorous. And I thought, okay, there's a bit of comedy coming into this. That's quite, it's quite ingenious. I was like, okay, I'm liking this a lot. And then I loved all the exchanges. Eric, at one point, I said a line that was like, we'll judge him by his heart, but we can't see his heart, so we'll judge him by his outward parts. And I thought that was very rude. I thought that was just maybe the way I interpreted it.
Eric.
I was just gonna say, is this like they brought Bob Ross in for like a speed painting session or something? Just because it's really, really fast, whereas you kind of know that I'm guessing. I mean, by this point, he painting and drawing and all sketching stuff would have been really it would have taken time as opposed to just one scene.
I'm sure he's more like a court sketch artist at this stage. They'll he's just done some outlines and some basic stuff. He hasn't painted anything yet. I imagine this is just the preliminary sketches. Alexandra.
But she's still in love with that. I just wanted to point out two things very quickly. One is that Pembroke actually, it seems to me, ends things honorably and goes, okay, this is not going to plan. I'm going to go away now, as opposed to try and woo for himself. So that's nice. It also triangulates in unrequitedness. But Bowyer, who is supposedly the title character, he's had a tiny appearance and not really been kind of, elevated beyond the level of the other characters. He doesn't seem to have something that immediately sort of makes him spring out to us, other than perhaps his very brutal honesty. So I was curious about that.
Yes, he got a bit of an intro by Peter in the end of the first scene, but he is. I mean, and he could potentially dominate these scenes depending on what he's physically doing. And we got a lot of description of what was physically there. So there's all sorts of questions that, and for the matter, issues about what he's going to be like. Alan, then we will move on.
Yeah, I think Boyer's on an undercover mission, basically. You know, it's war leader disguised as servant.
Well, we shall see. Let's go on to scene 4, and we have a return of Dick. Enter Dick Bowyer, and soldiers with drum and colours.
Stand! Give the world a long. Stand!
Stand there,
Lieutenant,
Captain.
is the watch set in the King's quarter yet?
An hour ago.
Sounds, what foolish Canaanites were they, to run in debt to their eyes for an hour's sleep sooner than they needed. Sergeant!
On, sir.
So the rogue answers like a drawer. It is the trick of most of these sergeants, all clinkum clankum. God's dines, I'm an onion, but not rather serve foremost in the forlorn hoop of a battle, or run point blank against the mouth of a double-charged cannon, than come under the arrest of some of their pewter pestles. Zounds, 'tis hotter a great deal than hell mouth, and divers burning in sulphur. But thou art none of the genealogy of them. Where must we watch tonight?
In the furthest trenches that confront the enemy's camp.
That's the next way to have all our throats cut.
That cannot be, you know, Captain. There's a peace toward.
Box of peace keeps our ancient whole. Tsars, our gabardines go to rack. But futter is too well known. Since Dick Bowyer came to France, he hath showed himself a gentleman and a cavaliero, and sets fear at his heels. If I could escape, pox on it, t'other thing, I might haps return safe and sound to England. But what remedy? All flesh is grass, and some of us must need be scorched in this hot country. Lieutenant Corps, prithee lead my band to their quarter, and the rogues do not as they should. Cram thyself, good Corps, down their throats and choke them. Who stands sentinel tonight, sir?
Eric, I think. Eric, you stand sentinel.
That must I, Captain.
You, Rafe, nod. Zounds. Soldiers, follow my discipline, say your prayers, and you're all dead men, all dust and ashes, all worms' meat.
How so, Captain?
Do you make him a sentinel? He'll nod presently, and he do not sleep sitting upon the point of a Spanish needle. Dick Boyer's a very shittlecock. Nod. Soon he is one of the 9 sleepers, a very dormouse, and that I a pageant to present of the 7 deadly sins, he should play sloth, and he did not sleep when he should speak his part. I am a badger.
That's true. You have half the nature of a badger, for one leg is shorter than the other.
Sound you, rogue, do you not know that? I'll tell you, right. I lie, call me Jebusite. Once, as I was fighting in St. George's Fields, and blind Cupid seeing me and taking me for some valiant Achilles, he took his shaft and shot me right into the left heel. And ever since, Dick Bowyer has been lame, but my heart is as sound as a bell, heart of oak, spirit, spirit. Lieutenant, discharge Nod, and let Cricket stand sentinel till I come.
He shall, Captain.
On a 4, straight drum, march soldiers, keep your place, Nod. Thusly my hearts, the honour of England and our brave general, the Earl of Pembroke. So I've discharged myself of these.
Exeunt soldiers.
Shot. Now to my love. Some may say the tale of Venus loving Mars is a fable, but he that is a true soldier and a gent, as Dick Bowyer is, and he do not love some varlet or other, sounds, he is worse than a gaping oyster without liquor. It's a pretty spring-faced mother that waits on the princess that I've some mind to, but a horse and octavelle, parasite, a rogue, one whose face looks worse than the tailor's cushion, or old shreds of colours. Sounds like a weaver's leg in an old ditch feeding horse leeches. And this trotter is my rival and loves Thomasin. His name is Peter de Lyons. But hearts, I will not swear neither, if I do not turn rich Coeur de Lion with him. I do not tear out his heart and eat it with mustard.
Enter Peter and Thomasin.
Let him say Dick Boyer's a mackerel. Yonder he comes with my property hand in hand. Sounds I say nothing. I'll hear what they say and determine afterward.
Thomasin, you know me. I hate prolixity. In a word, my humour is thus. I love you.
Do not spoil that humour so.
Your answer, compendiously, and avoid prolixity.
Very muff. By Jesu, I scorn to humble the least part about me, to give answer to such a trotting question. As I live, it jolts mine ears worse in hearing than the prince's coach on a broken causeway.
Thomasin, leave this place and take me with you. My lord loves your lady, yet I hear say she is this night betrothed to the Prince of France. So I love you, and shall I lose you? No, I hate prolixity. In a word, the end is, I'll marry you.
Pretty, as God save me. What will Captain Bowyer say to that, if he should know it?
A good rogue, by Jesu.
Bowyer a captain, a capon, a button mould, a lame haberdine, a red beard sprat, a yellow hammer, a bow case, a very jackdaw with his tongue slit.
Zounds, what Philistine is this? What a dictionary of proper names hath the rogue got together? Ah, his tongue crawls as fast as the cheese doth in Germany. Please you for this, you lobster.
Bowyer, more do foutre for him, and that sour crab do but leer at thee. I shall squeeze him to Vargas.
And you squeeze me, I may have grow saucy with you, you horse and burn pudding pie, you dry parsnip. Kiss me, Thomasin. So, dare you stand to your word now and squeeze me?
Stumps, I challenge thee for this indignity. Bowyer, I will gird myself with thy guts. I am a soldier and a captain.
Captain? Now I'm hadst under my charge any other than pygmies. I'm Gog Magog. Dost thou hear, sow gelder? And I do not want with 6 cranes, well marshalled, overrun thee and thy 150. Say Dick Boyer's a coward.
For that word, draw.
Hold, gentlemen.
Peace, good Thomasin. Silent, sweet socket. Peter, to see this sword? This sword killed Sala boys. That was 1 rogue. Now it shall kill thee. That's 2 rogues. Awesome puttock, no garbage serve you but this. How at ya?
And as they fight, enter Pembroke. Who's this at enmity within our camps? What, Bowyer? And the servant to great Burbon? Doth both sheathe your weapons. By our martial law, this act is death.
I'll be hanged then. Dost thou hear, noble general? Dick Bowyer knows what belongs to service. We did not draw of any malice by this element of iron and steel, but to measure which of our swords were longest. I'll save you for once, you Saracen, because I'll see you hang scurvily. But the next time...
Good Captain Bowyer, let our English troops keep a strong watch tonight. My throbbing heart, like to a scritch owl in the midnight hour, bodes some black scene of mischief imminent.
Never fear, General. Julius Caesar rise up against us. Ere he do, my lord, any wrongs, sounds I'll be cut smaller than pot herbs. I'll to the trenches. Come, Thomasin. Leer not, lobster, lest I thumb that rusting face of yours with my sword hilt till they looked as pied-coloured as the rainbow. By Jesu, I'll do it, and therefore follow me not.
Exeunt, remain Pembroke. Why should this load of grief lie on my heart with such a ponderous weight? I know no cause, unless it be by thinking on the match my friend receives in the unless it be by thinking on the wrong my friend receives in the unmatched love which Katharine bears me. Yet my faith is sound, and like a solid rock shall check her tears. Katharine loves me, yet for my friend's delight Pembroke will hate her love, and fly her sight. And exit. So, just for clarification for those watching the video, the play has 2 Bowyers. So the earlier one for the previous scene, who we thought wasn't very impressive for someone who is supposed to be the title character, it's because they're not. They're just the servant clown figure. This is the real Dick Bowyer. But they do have the same name. There's some tidying up that we will need to do. The servant who we met earlier will return as clown later on in our script. So there's a sort of ongoing oddness there, but they've got the same name. Alan.
I must admit, my feeling was it was the same guy.
No.
Who's been masquerading.
Unless that's, but I've got separate speech prefixes looking in other sources here, so they are separate characters.
Certainly from the original I looked at.
Yeah, this is the problem. That's why we do this. Briony.
Yeah, more character confusion, I'm afraid, because I'm fairly sure that the lieutenant in that last scene is Lieutenant Core, which I'm down to read, but I presume he's Core elsewhere, just on its own.
Okay, this is good. I make a note. Okay, wandering speech prefixes. Fabulous. Other thoughts in the room before we move on? A bit of reintroduction of plot, as well as sort of just general character introduction, and also sort of building on the whole thing about Thomasin that we had mentioned very early on. Briony.
Just there's some really, really, really lovely insults flying around in that last scene, and that's definitely. I don't know if you have a list anywhere of plays that have great little insult rows, little arguments in them, but that's definitely one, I think.
Oh yeah, we got some good ones. You wholesome burned pudding pie. There's some good stuff in there. Okay, any more? Otherwise we will move on. We are condensing a lot of text into this session, so I apologise for a certain forcing of the pace that I wouldn't normally have. Eric.
I like that the excuse is sort of, we weren't fighting. We just drew our swords to measure which one was longer.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to get caught fighting in encampment as soldiers. I mean, that would be awful. I mean, genuinely, it's one of those weird ironies. You're not supposed to fight in the army.
But willy waving is fine.
Yeah, you're allowed to fight later on, but not here. You've got to hold on. Anyway, we will move on. Scene 5. Enter Burbon, Navar, Philip. I need to get my silly hat. Bellamira, Rodorick, Peter, and attendants.
Navar, you sprinkle me with foul reproach, and dim the lustre of our royal name with colours of dishonour.
Hear me, Burbon.
What words can satisfy so great a wrong? Have you not, with consent of all your lords, promised your daughter to this generous prince?
Their true love forced us to it.
True love? 'Tis feigned.
Burbon!
Gentle Philip.
With my sword I'll prove my love unfeigned, thee a false lord.
This like a sanctuary frees thy tongue, and gives thee childish liberty of speech, which else would fawn and crouch at Burbon's frown.
Now by Saint Denis.
I'll not chat with boys. Navar, to thee I speak. Thy daughter's looks, like the North Star to the sea-tossed mariners, hath brought me through all dangers, made me turn our royal palace to this stage of death, our state and pleasures to a bloody camp, and with the strength and puissance of our force, to lift thy falling and decayed state, even to her pristine glory in thy quarrel. Burbon hath set himself against his king, and soiled his greatness with a traitor's name. Now, when our worth-expected rich reward, fair Bellamira, wonder of her time, must Philip have her?
Burbon, she's mine.
Mon Dieu! I'll be revenged, by heaven I will, or I will pave these plains with the dead bodies of our dear subjects. We have sworn thy fall, that oath's thy death, our rage thy funeral.
Hear our excuse.
We will not credit heir. Peter, watch Rodorick when the prince is gone. Tell him I'd speak with him.
Enough, 'tis done.
Navar, this setting sun, which sees our wrong, shall ere his morrow's beams guide the proud east, view Hymen's rights turn to a tragic feast.
His anger bears him thence, young Prince of France, since to reduce our enmity to love, and thereby, like a fair and lovely bride, to marry peace to France, we are content to bring the sea-tossed bark of your affects, half shipwrecked with the tempest of these wars, to their desired port, as we agreed. Go to your father, and inform him thus, if personally he'll view our friendly tents, and seal these articles of peace proposed, this night you shall be troth-plight to our child.
Were it to search the furthest northern clime, where frosty Hyams with an icy mace strikes dead all living things, I'd find it out. And borrowing fire from those fair sunny eyne, thaw winter's frost and warm that dead cold clime. But this imposes nothing, honoured king. I'll to my father and conduct him hither, for whilst my soul is parted from her sight, this earth is hell, this day a tedious night. Come, Rodorick, you shall bear me company.
Exit. Philip.
Rodorick.
Peter and Roderick. I'm not sure about that precisely. That might be timed after this next line.
He shall not, for I'll stay him instantly.
'Twere pity to keep two such loves asunder. Daughter, you and your ladies to your tent, and deck you richly to receive the prince. Exit Bellamira, enter Pembroke after him, and Ferdinand. Ah, my lord of Pembroke, happily returned, how doth our son? See where he comes himself. Speak, boy, how speedst thou with fair Katharine?
I know not how. Is trothless Pembroke here?
Be not dismayed, at length she'll pity thee. Son, bid our officers adorn our court in her chief glory, for this happy night shall set a period to this smarting war. Your sister shall be troth-plight to Prince Philip, and France and we made friends about it then. Pembroke, have you the charge to see our captains prepare a martial welcome to the king? I'll not be idle, since Navar was crowned, our heart with so much joy did ne'er abound. Exit Navar.
Nor mine with so much hate. Pembroke, a word.
What wills, your grace?
That Pembroke is a villain. Look not so strange, I speak it not your friend, but he that in his soul hath sworn thine end.
A villain, and my death? I am amazed. Art thou awake, or is all this a dream?
A dream of death. Meet me tomorrow morning, as thou art Pembroke and a gentleman, by yon fair riverside, which parts our camps. You know the place. Come armed, and so farewell.
Dear friend.
Push, meet me.
Ferdinand, I will.
Revenge, smile on, thou shalt drink blood thy fill.
And they exit. Scene 6. Enter Peter, standing sentinel. Peter.
This is my waiting night. 'Tis for no good that I stand sentinel. Well, good or ill, I care not greatly, so I get the gold. Therefore, to avoid prolixity, here walk I.
Enter Burbon and Rodorick.
Here comes the men that must reward my pain.
Have you the poison?
And a strong one, too. Here's a preservative to save your hand. When Roderick fails, your lordship, heaven shall fail, to illuminate the world with cheerful light.
Then hereabout should Peter wait for me, for this is the pavilion of the princess.
My lord,
Peter,
here is the key that opens to the tent. I stole it from my sweetheart Thomasin. Enter without prolixity, woo and win the lady. But give me gold, my lord, and I'll to dice.
hold, take thy fill.
and it shall go as fast.
Now, gentle Peter, get thee unto rest. My business craves the absence of the world. None but myself and Rodorick shall behold the secret complot that I do intend.
I go, my lord.
And exit Peter.
Now, blessed key, open unto my love. Do more than loving lines or words can do. My letters have been answered with disdain. Her father I have moved to gain my love, but he is frosty in my fervent suit. And now perforce I will obtain my love, or ease her puling hatred by revenge.
You stay too long. I'll help to turn the key.
Discover Bellamira sitting in a chair asleep.
What do I see? The majesty of heaven sit in a maiden slumber on the earth? What, is my Bellamira turned a goddess within the table of her glorious face? Methinks the pure extraction of all beauty flows in abundance to my lovesick eye. Oh, Rodorick, she is admirably fair, and sleeping, if her beauty be so rare, how will her eyes enchant me if she wake? Here, take the poison. I'll not stain that face for all the treasure of the Western Island.
I see no such admired perfection. Waken her, Burbon, and this loving charm which now hath led your senses prisoner will vanish, and her speech full of reproof, begetting new phantasma full of hate. Thou wilt detest her when she shall deny thee.
Waken her, Rodorick, for I want the power.
I hope I am disguised sufficiently that Bellamira cannot know my face. Madam, fair Bellamira.
Here I am. Who calls on Bellamira?
I, fair love, the Duke of Bourbon, that doth honour thee.
The Duke of Bourbon in my tent so late? Where is my guard? What, Peter? Thomasin?
To her, restrain her, lest she call. I'll be a looker on and be unknown.
What needs your highness call for any guard, since you are guarded with a faithful friend? Behold me, madam, humbly on my knee, come to renew my suit, vouchsafe me love, or with this weapon take away my life. Much better 'twere 1,000 times to die, than live in torment of your scorching eye. You have inflamed my heart, oh quench that flame, or into cinders turn my hapless trunk, hapless in being unbeloved of you.
My lord of Bourbon, you presume too much on the extremity of passion. Have I not answered many an idle letter with full assurance that I cannot love? Have I not often viva voce checked your courtly kindness, frowned upon your smiles, used you unkindly all to wean your love? And do you still persever in your suit? I tell thee, Burbon, this bold part of thine, to break into my tent at dead of night, deserves severe correction, and the more because it brings mine honour into question. I charge thee, as thou art a gentleman, betake thee to thine own pavilion, and let this answer satisfy for all. Burbon, I cannot, nor I will not love thee.
Cannot, nor will not? Zounds, madam, but you must.
Must I?
And shall.
You will not force me to it.
Or force that sparkling beauty from your face. Look not so fiercely, nor cry for help, for if you do, this makes you cry your last. Seeing neither words, kind letters, hearty sighs, humble entreaty, nor a world of pain can move you to take pity of my love, but tyrant-like, your beauty seeks my life. I will blot out that beauty with this juice. Thus I wipe away my passions. Thus do I heal the torments of my love. Thus do I ransom my enthralled eye, and by depriving of the cause of life, kill the effect, which was a world of sorrow. Farewell, foul Bellamira. I am pleased in this revenge that no way could be eased.
Exit Bourbon.
He's done it. Now, Roderick, joy thy fill. Bourbon is thine, the dukedom is thine own. For only he in the inheritance stood as an obstacle to let my claim. This deed of his will take away his life, and then let me alone to enjoy his land. I'll steal away unseen, course unsuspected. I would not for the world be once detected.
Exit Rodorick.
Poisoned my face. Oh, most inhumane wretch! Revenge more vile than to abridge my life. What, Thomasin? What, brother Ferdinand? My kingly father, is there none that hears? Then treason, treason, let that waken you, for capital is this offence to me.
Enter Navar, Pembroke, Ferdinand, and Thomasin.
Oh, Jesu, mistress, what ails your face?
Her face!
'Tis spotted like a panther's skin.
Oh, were those spots as kindly beautiful than were fair Bellamira undeformed? Oh, what divine power have sent this leprosy?
Say, beauteous sister.
Speak, fair Bellamira.
Speak, my good mistress.
My sweet daughter, speak. Her silence argues a tormented spirit.
Thy countenance argues a deceitful soul.
Enter Lewes, Philip, Rodorick, and Flanders.
Where is Navar?
It's fair Bellamira.
My Philip, oh, give leave to fly his sight.
Stay, gentle daughter, he'll not injure thee.
Here are the articles concluded on. I could not rest till I had signed them, and brought them to your highness. A month hence the marriage shall be fully solemnized. So please your majesty and your fair daughter, are you content?
To live in discontent.
Thinks this royal presence hath done dim looks. Is it because they're in the arms of night, which sets a leaden lustre on the eye, or hath some accident accosted them that troubles their aspect with melancholy? Is Navar well? Is Fernando well? Is Pembroke well? Is Bellamira well? Oh, where is Bellamira? Tell me, princess, for now my tongue hath struck upon her name, I feel a kind of killing ecstasy. Where is she? In a tent?
Deny me, father, I would not see Prince Philip with this face.
Why, speak you not? What, have I touched the string whereon the burden of your sorrow lies? Father, look round about, see you, my love. Rodorick, look round about, see you, my love.
I see her not.
Nor I.
I say not so. Garments that she wears, mine eyes should know. What lady's this that hides her heavenly face? Here are no basilisks with killing eyes. You need not hide your beauty, sweet. Look up. Methinks I have an interest in these looks. What's here? A leper amongst noble men? What creature's this? Why stays she in this place? 'Tis no marvel, though she hide her face, that 'tis infectious. Let her leave the presence, or leprosy will cleave unto us all.
Oh, let me leave the presence, gentle father, when Philip bids his Bellamira go.
My Bellamira?
How? My son's beloved.
Is this my love? Was this your beauteous child?
My child,
Sister,
beauteous Bellamira, spotted,
disfigured.
made a loathsome leper.
How came this sudden alteration? For she was comely, lovely, beautiful when the day left his chariot to the night.
That heaven doth know, and only Bellamira. Daughter, I charge thee, tell me how it came.
Bourbon, oh, Bourbon.
Did he do the deed?
He came into my tent at dead of night and rubbed my face with an infectious herb, because I would not grant unto his love. I cried for help, but none did succour me.
I know he did, and laughs. Think on it.
And he shall rue his treason.
Threaten not. Leave the revenge to me whom it concerns. 'Tis I am robbed of a delicious look, a heavenly sparkling brow, a starry eye, a countenance fairer than Aurora's looks, when all the east is gilded with her blush. 'Tis I will be revenged, but not before I have espoused my lovely Bellamira.
Espoused her?
Marry? How marry a face deformed?
A leprous creature.
An infectious maid?
One whose sores are perchance incurable.
Be they incurable, it is my love. For my sake she hath endured this wrong, and Should I now forsake her thus distressed, I could not merit a true lover's name. To show I love her, I will marry her before the month expire, nay, in the morn. Delays, perchance, may make her think I scorn.
Marry with me? Fetch me a looking glass, that I may see how sweet a bride I am. Oh, I detest myself. Dear, hate me too. I am not to be married, but to death. Though I were empress of this spacious world, I do lay myself in kingdom at thy feet. Live, noble Philip, joy some happier match. 'Tis my unworthiness makes me deny thee.
Think'st thou, because thy face is spotted so, thou art not worthy of thy Philip's love? Thy face to me was but a marshal, to lodge thy sacred person in my mind, which long ago is surely chambered there. And now what needs an outward harbinger? I do affect, not superficially, my love extendeth further than the skin. The inward Bellamira 'tis I seek, and under her will Philip be espoused.
Oh, admirable love.
Oh, my dear son, thou makest me famous by thy loyalty.
I never heard the like.
Pen never writ a worthier story to posterity.
Pen never writ of a more treacherous friend than Pembroke thou hast proved to Ferdinand.
Sweet love, prepare thee to be Philip's bride, for here I swear, as I am royal born, I'll marry thee before the morning sun hath run the third part of his glorious course. Father, good night. Dear friends, dear love, good night. Marriage, I hope, will make my spirits more light.
Exit Philip. Good night, sweet son. King Lewes, stay with me. Be thou my comforter. I'll comfort thee. Exeunt the kings.
Pembroke, remember that thou fail me not.
Exit Ferdinand. Oh, God, what may these moody looks intend? Methinks I should have better from my friend. Exit Pembroke.
Now, Bellamira, thou hast time to think upon these troublous matters. Should I suffer so brave a gentleman as Philip is to wed himself to my unworthy self? It would be counted virtue in the prince, but I were worthy of a world of blame. No, Philip, no, thou shalt not wrong thine honour, nor be impeached by Bellamira's spots. In some disguise I'll steal away tonight, and ne'er appear more in my Philip's sight.
And exit Bellamira with Thomasin. So we've had this particular plot strand before. I said we've had it before. We will have it in future plays chronologically. I think this is possibly the earliest we've had precisely this kind of iteration of this disfiguring plot. It's interesting question as to precisely what this is that's done this to her, because they're talking about it in different modes as well. So they're talking about it like it's a disease at some point, in the sense that it might be something that's catching. Yeah, I'm particularly interested in Rodorick's evilness. It is interesting that you've got this Burbon being just really, really horrible, but Roderick's there in the playing the long game of going, right, well, if he does this horrible thing and I stay disguised in the background, then he'll get the blame and I'll get all his stuff. Excellent. So there's sort of levels to this plotting that's going on here. Do you get the impression that Louis is not very good at reading the room? Because he just sort of wanders in. I've done the paperwork. Why is everyone not listening to me? I'm a king. Nobody's listening to me. What's going on? Oh, my God. So, yeah. And then Philip standing by Bellamira for reasons that we may wish to discuss. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. This play keeps sort of, this was set up a long time ago, but it's sort of really set in motion and played with there. Yeah, thoughts on the room. Who wants to leap in before we go into our final section? Briony and then Lynn.
Yeah, I think it makes a change that Philip still wants to marry her, but also, I don't know, there was some nice stuff in there about how, her face is just something to remember her by, and it's like her on the inside that he loves. I liked all of that. We don't see, that kind of speech that often. It's more often that they're like, oh no, oh I don't want to marry you. So we could maybe take that and keep it somewhere safe for if we ever need to fix something like this in the future. Let's just insert that speech, make him a good person, job done.
Yeah, it's
Love it.
but it does seem to be a thematic thing for the play, because we had this with the painter earlier about the difference between the inside and the outside. So it does seem that this has been thought of and seeded on some level. Lynn.
This is just such a sort of a high stakes soap opera. Like all the love triangles. There's the high level love triangle, and then there's the Thomasin Bowyer Peter love triangle. So there's like all these romantic relationships, and like everyone's so extra, like poor Bellamira. It's like, I'm gonna go hide I can't even like be in the world because I'm not pretty now, and it felt like, oh no, I love you anyway, and Briony's right. It's wonderful. It's great. It's really what we want to see in a character that we want to admire. But at the same time, her brother, this horrible thing has happened to his sister, and he's like, you're not my friend anymore. Like, dude, can you not think of yourself for 2 minutes?
Yeah, in the middle of the scene, you've just got revenge.
Right.
And it's like, because they don't want the audience to forget the revenge.
Yeah.
We will be revenged. Briony, then Alexandra.
Yeah, I was going to say to what you were saying about the way they've talked about it as being a disease, as well as, we know it's just actually some juice stuff that he's put on her face. I guess, firstly, like their understanding of such stuff, they probably would have been genuinely concerned it was a disease and something they could catch. But also that whole thing of like when somebody's honour is stained, they're shunned as if they have a disease.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it works nicely, and it's interchangeable in that way.
Alexandra.
I would like to point out, similar to Lynn's point, that it's not just Ferdinand. It's like all the men are only thinking about themselves. Not a single person goes, "Are you okay, love?" To poor Bellamira. Not a single person sort of considers, "Oh, that guy that did the bad thing is a terrible dude. Let's find him and do something about it." No, it's all about, "Oh, isn't this ew, this is terrible. What, you're going to marry her, but she's disfigured." And I really dislike the fact that that kind of language is put in the mouth of the person who is the victim in this situation. That Bellamira herself, thinks she's not worthy because she's not pretty. Because authors do that, and it's bad. But I think it's very interesting. It would be very interesting if you were to really lean into that in a modern production, if you were to actually, not try and smooth over those issues, but make it clear that actually this is a moment where the people who claim to care about this person and would be brought together by a tragedy are instead each looking after their own selves.
And there is a threat on revenge on Bourbon. It's interesting that Philip owns it, though. It's like Louis says, we will get this bad person, and Philip goes, "No, that's my job. I take that on me."
Because I have been robbed of her beautiful face, and therefore I will carry out the revenge. Like, dude, it's
that sort of machismo, that sort of Godfather sort of thing going on there, isn't it? It's that thing of we're keeping it within. There are rules about the revenge, and that's how this functions. Anyway, we need to move on, Eric. I'm sorry. We will go on to scene 7. Enter Dick Bowyer.
There is no toil to this walking of the round. It's hard. I've been stumbling up and down all this night, like a brewer's horse. There's never a good eye in his head. It is as dark as pitch. I can resemble our camp to nothing better than hell, save that in hell they are always waking. And here the villains are so drowsy as swine. Lieutenant Nod! I'd have shot a double cannon in his ear, never awaked him. I jogged and I jogged, I shouted and I shouted, and yet the mongrel snorted. You might hear him to Dover. Last, I dragged him by the heels into a ditch of water and there left the lobster crawling. At the t'other side, Cor being appointed to stand sentinel upon the Walloons' quarter, so the loach gets me into a sutler's bath and there sits me drinking for Joan's best cap. But by this hand, and as Dick Bowyer is a soldier and a Cavaliero, he shall sit in the bolts for it tomorrow. My comfort is in these extremities that I brought Thomasin to her lady's tent, leaving her new-come lover to pick straws. But soft, give a la.
Enter Ferdinand.
And then his speech freezes. My name is Ferdinand.
Stand.
White Captain, thou dost know me well enough.
No or not no. Without the word you pass not.
Soliman.
So, allez, monsieur.
First, tell me, sawest thou Pembroke come this way?
I saw him not.
Farewell.
Exit Ferdinand.
As much to you as these Frenchmen will think to outface us with a card of 10. But, and his beard were made of brass, Dick Bowyer will make him know the discipline of war. Here comes another.
Enter Pembroke. Who's there? Dick Bowyer?
Some call me so. What then?
Pembroke salutes thee.
Oh, good morrow, my lord. Good morrow.
I prithee, Captain, sawest thou Ferdinand, son to Navar, as thou didst walk the round?
He now, my lord, he passed along this way.
Himself alone, or had he company?
A questionless, he was alone, my lord.
Couldst thou discern his face? How did he look?
Bathed scurvily, my lord, like a green cheese or the inside of a rotten pumpion.
There is crowns for thee to drink. Exit Pembroke.
I thank your lordship. To see the difference between these French curs and our English cavaliers, there's as much bounty in them as there's marchpane in a dish of almond butter. I just stood here till my teeth chatter in my head. T'other lunch Brisado would have said, here, Captain Bowyer, there's a cardicue to wash down melancholy. But I has known as much. I would have basted him till his bones had rattled in his skin.
Enter Cor and other soldiers bringing in the clown. All together now.
Come, sir, you shall answer your walking before our captain.
Well, sirs, take heed what you do. I'm a prince's man. If you stay me upon the king's highway, I can lay fellowship to your charge.
But, sirrah, we can lay treason to thine for being without the word.
Without the word? O pernicious Frenchman, without the word? Why, I've called thee villain, him rascal, this slave, that rogue, and am I still without the word?
Aye, sir, the word that must serve your turn, the watchword.
Faith, you would like to watch this 12-month, where you have any other words at my hands.
Now, masters, what calf are you dragging to the slaughterhouse there, huh?
A straggler and a spy. Captain, I pray examine him.
So, Lieutenant Cor, you're crept from your cups at last. I'll talk with you anon. But, sirrah, to you. From whence come you?
I came, sir, from the King of France's camp.
So, what's your name?
My name, sir, is Bow Wow.
Chard, what kind of name is that? The hedgehog mocks us. Bow wow, quotha. What king art thou? Kin art thou to the generation of dogs?
No dog, sir, but would you know it, though I be compassed with curs?
Sounds he calls us curs. Hang the hotchpotch up in a fathom or two a match.
Not you, sir, I call not you so. I know you to be a very insufficient, ill-spoken gentleman.
Well, sirrah, whom do you serve?
My master, sir, is the Lady Katharina, the French king's daughter. I've been abroad about some business of hers, and I am now going back again.
An honourable lady, sir. Let him go. 'Tis against the law of arms to stay him.
Stand off, but soft. I do not know your name, sir, that my lady may give you thanks.
My name is Dick Bowyer.
Well then, Master Dick Bowyer, after my hearty commendations, adieu. But as for the rest, I say no more. I shall exit clown.
Now, Cor. How can you answer your being a tippling when you should have stand sentinel?
Believe me, Captain, I had but a whiff or two. for I was passing dry.
Thou art always dry. The whoreson maltworm has a throat like the burning clime or a glassmaker's furnace. But your remove from thence has saved you from the bolts. How now? What water spaniel have we here?
Enter Lieutenant Nod.
'Tis Lieutenant Nod.
Captain, deride me not. I protest I came by this mischance, by good service, by following a spy that came to discover our army.
Notable rogue. Did I not find thee asleep and threw thee into a ditch?
Was't you? By this night I took you for a spy.
Yet saw me not, no more than a mole-worm. This is an egregious rogue.
Oh, yes, I saw you well enough, and I did but try how you would use me.
By this flesh and blood, many one that lies in his grave was not so half so senseless. But the watch breaks up. Everyone to his quarter. Away!
Exeunt. Scene 8. Enter Clown. 'Tis true, they are gone together, and I am sent to watch Prince Ferdinand and the Earl of Pembroke. This way they went, but they are got out of sight. I were very bad to be a hound that have no better a scent. If they were hares, as they are men, I should think them squatted. But husht! Here comes one of them. Enter Ferdinand.
Red. Red morns do threat a storm. That storm shall light on Pembroke or myself. This is our meeting place. Here runs the stream that parts our camps. The time consorts the place, and Pembroke, it thy reputation hold. It is thy cue to enter.
Enter Pembroke. Here comes the other. This is luck upon luck. Now will I run and fetch my mistress, the Lady Katharina, to part their fray. Exit Clown. Good end succeed my early heaviness. 3 times my feet, as loath to guide me hither, have stumbled in a plain and even way. My sword forsook his scabbard once or twice. Blood from my nostrils thrice have sprouted forth, and such a dimness overruns my sight that I have ta'en a tree to be a man, and questioned with it about serious things. This is the place where I must meet my friend. Yonder he stands. Good morrow, Ferdinand.
Good morrow to thy death. Draw, Pembroke, draw. The ground thou treadst upon must be thy grave.
Draw upon Ferdinand?
Aye, upon me. Dally not, Pembroke. I am bent to fight, and that with thee, for the best blood thou bearest.
Well, you have some reason for this resolution.
My will.
A sorry argument to kill your friend. I must have better reason than your will, or I'll not draw upon my Ferdinand. Our love is older than of one day's growth. A year's continuous hath united us. Have we not made an interchange of oaths, sworn love to one another 20 times, confirmed that friendship by society, increased it with the sympathy of mind, making one pleasure unto both? And shall this bond be broken upon will?
Then you'll not draw.
Yes, nearer to thy person in friendly sort to embrace thee, Ferdinand.
Thou art a coward, and thou darest not fight.
Thou know'st the contrary, for we have fought at every weapon to approve our skill.
Go to, you are a villain and a coward, and by the royal blood that gave me life, I'll kill thee, Pembroke, though thou do not draw.
Kill me? Thou wilt not wrong thine honour so.
Zoons, but I will, and traitor, take thou that!
Oh, wound me so desperately, nay then I'll draw, not to offend, but to defend myself. Witness, you heavens, and you, all you gracious powers that stand auspicious to this enterprise, that Pembroke draws forth an unwilling sword.
Why so? Now manfully defend thyself.
Another wound. Then Pembroke, rouse thy spirit, and bear no longer with this harebrained man. Yet, Ferdinand, resolve me of the cause that moves thee to this unkind enterprise, and if I satisfy thee not in words, this double wound shall please thee with my blood, nay, with my sword. I'll make a score of wounds rather than of blood divorce thy love.
I hate thee deadly, and I seek that thy life. What other reason, Pembroke, wouldst thou have? Prepare Prepare in this conflict to show thou art a knight and canst o'ercome thy foe.
And if I spare thee not, impute the cause to thine own rashness and mine aching wounds. They fight and hurt each other. Both fall down as dead.
Ow! I hope I've slain thee.
Oh, I fear thy life. How fares my Ferdinand?
I am marked for death. What? Livest thou yet? Then my fare is ill.
I am marked for death. I feel a general faintness through my limbs. Expense of blood will soon expend my life.
Like debility my joints do feel.
Then we must both die in the latest of death. Tell me, whence proceeds this hate?
I fear not, Pembroke, to discover now. Thou wert my spokesman unto Katharine, and treacherously thou stolest away her heart. I can say no more. My spirits do faint. Pembroke, farewell. I have revenged my wrong.
Oh, yet a little longer, gracious time, detain his princely spirit in his breast, that I may tell him he is misinformed, and purge myself unto my dying friend. But death hath laid his numb cold hand upon me. I am arrested to depart this life, dear Ferdinand. Although thou be my death, on thee I'll friendly breathe my latest breath. Enter Forester.
How full of pleasure is this forest life! My park I liken to a commonwealth in which my bucks and does are citizens, the hunter's lodge the court, from whence is sent a sentence of life or death, as please the king. Only our government's attorney, in that we kill our subjects upon support. But stay, what gentlemen do lie here slain? If any spark of life do yet remain, I'll help to fan it with nimble hands. The organ of his arm doth play apace. He's not so far spent, but that with help he may recover to his former state. How is the other? I do feel soft breath break from between his lips. Oh, for some aid to bear them through the forest to my lodge. But as I am, I'll try my utmost strength to save their lives. First scene shall be the first. Patience, and I'll return and fetch the other.
Exit Forester carrying Pembroke. Enter Fisherman.
My angle rod is broke, my sport is done, but I will fetch my net and catch some fish. To lose both fish and pleasure is too much. What contentment lives here in the brook? What pretty trames are made by cunning hands to entrap the wily, watery citizens? But what art thou that liest upon the ground? Sleepest thou, or art thou slain? Hath breath his lost? No spark of life appears, yet from his eye methinks I see a glimmering light break forth, which wanting strength is like a twilight glimpse. If there be any hope to save his life, I'll try my utmost cunning. To my house, poor gentleman, I'll bear thee as a guest, and either cure thy wounds, or make thy grave.
Exit Fisherman carrying Ferdinand. Enter Forester, missing the other, taken away. Speaks anything.
Oh.
And exit. Enter Clown and Katharina. Just in this circle I left the two princes ready to draw, for I read the old discourse of the combat in their red eyes.
Oh, here lie their weapons, and here flows their blood.
Oh, have they not slain one another and buried themselves?
Peace, fool! 'Tis too sure that they are slain.
Oh, Lord, then let me turn myself into a ballad and mourn for them.
Thou angerest me with jesting of thy sorrow. Hence from my sight, my heart is full of grief, and it will break, the burden is so great.
Go from your sight, then let me out of your company. Thought I had as lief please your sight as your company. Is this my reward for watching and watching? Oh, mistress, do not kill me with unkindness. I shall.
What shall you?
Weep out mine eyes and fill the holes with salt water.
Prithee, leave me. I am not displeased, but would fain vent my sorrow from my heart. Hold, take my purse, spend that, and leave my presence. Go everywhere, inquire my Pembroke out, and if thou bringest me to his breathless trunk, I will reward thee with a treble gift.
Well, I were best be going, now I am so fairly offered. Mistress, your reward hath stopped my tears, and enticed my legs to be walking. Farewell, I will go, God knows whither, to seek and to find both, and neither. Farewell, sweet mistress. Exit clown.
Oh, Pembroke, let me kneel unto thy blood. And yet I know not whether it be thy blood, save that my soul, by a divine instinct, tells me it is the treasure of thy veins. If thou beest dead, thou mirror of all men, I vow to die with thee. This field, this grove, shall be my receptacle till my last, content with that feeds the airy souls. My pillow shall be made a bank of moss, and what I drink the silver brook shall yield. No other camp nor court will Katharine have, till fates do limit her a common grave.
Exit Katharina. We've got a fair number of people sort of lost in the woods now, haven't we? Or outside of the environs of the camp. An encampment, we should point out, with doors and locks. It's definitely quite well established. We've got two people who've been dragged off, presumably not dead. I'm assuming they survive, and they are healed by the magic of foresters and fishermen. Katharina's wandering around doing stuff. We've also got Bellamira wandering around other thing. I'm trying to think of the play we did recently where basically there's this constant we've got to go and it was the Three English Brothers or something like that. Where four where they go off and they're supposed to be fighting in the Crusades, but they keep going, oh no, we've got to go and find someone over here, and you're banished, and they keep not doing the fighting thing.
Was that the Four Apprentices?
Four Princesses of London, that's the one. Yes. So it sort of reminds me of that, or that reminds me of this. Because it's sort of, we can sort of feel all the various storytelling cliches sort of clicking into place now. They're lost in the woods and they're all looking for each other, or they're not looking for each other, or they think each other's dead. The mode is quite melodramatic. I mean, you were talking soap opera. I mean, it's very extra, this, isn't it? For what it's doing. Thoughts in the room, Briony?
Yeah, I felt that scene was just really nicely constructed. Like, I just found the beginning bit between the two of them really gripping, even though, like, I don't know, there was just something about it. And then it was punctuated by this random forester and fisherman just perfectly. It makes me very excited for tomorrow's session.
Yeah, and it is nicely laid in the sense that Bowyer is there standing guard and letting these people pass, and we know they're letting them pass so that they can do some attacky action. And the clown, the servant from earlier, clown has been shared between Alan and myself, has also gone through. So we know everybody's sort of set up and in place, and with a sort of fun comedy scene with Bowyer and everybody else, and then we've got a fight scene with Pembroke refusing to fight initially, and that thing of, I'm not going to fight you, you're my mate, I'm not going to do that. Ow, no, I'm still not going to do it. Ow, okay, okay, you got to, let's fight, and then they in theory kill each other. This could be a tragedy if it ended there. Enter Forrester. Briony, then Eric.
Yeah, just really quickly, I think in terms of how you would put this on today, that seems like quite a nice place. I mean, obviously I haven't read on, but that seems like quite a nice natural place to put a middle, because I want to come back and see how it ends.
Yeah, I think we've got enough people lost in the woods now that we're sort of expecting that question of, and Katharina's bit at the end there is quite extra as well. I was really sort of enjoying this thing of, kneeling in the blood. I mean, that's quite a big visual at the end there as well. If you've really gone for the Kensington gore, then make sure Katharina's wearing something suitably whitish so that it picks up the colour as well. Eric.
I was just going to comment on the Forester because he's like, oh yeah, life is great, and I obviously sort of and just kind of goes, yeah, this analogy is perfect for, I'm the king and sort of the area, our government's attorney, in which case, we kill our subjects upon sport. And I'm like, there was a moment where I was wondering, is that like sort of just a possible stab at the leadership of the country at that time? Yeah, probably not. But I mean, it just kind of, I like the contrast between his sort of life is good.
Yeah, it's good when you are the tyrant, I suppose, isn't it? Because he's and it's a really nice. I like the idea that maybe the forest is coming on and saying everything's good. Isn't my little forest is like a kingdom, and I kill everyone who lives here. Oh well, never mind. It's like he suddenly thinks through that. Actually, no, are we the bad guys? Alan.
I must admit that the thing has come alive. I mean, with the exception of the two posh boys who've just had this fight, the players really come alive when we're dealing with the lower orders. We've got Fred Carnot's army with Bowyer and the rather dodgy band of soldiers who don't seem to be over bright or over alert or overly sober. And those scenes really have worked quite nicely, I feel. Whereas the sort of the courtly type stuff, I found a tad slow in getting interest.
I'm not so sure it's slow. I mean, there's so much going on in the court. I think the problem with the court is that there are several plots that are quite similar happening all at the same time. So it's quite easy when you're reading it to get confused as to who, because there's Ferdinand and there's the other one who also begins with F. Or not begins with F, Rodorick, who just, in my mind, the moment I look at Ferdinand and Rodorick, they just blur in my head, even though they're totally different people. And that's just because I'm visually looking at the script. And, all these various people bouncing around. Because there's a lot of characters. I think that's the other structural thing we should note here. This is an incredibly busy play with a lot of people. You need a big company to make this work. We've staggered through it with 6, 7. But you need twice as many to make any of this make sense. I think you might get it down a bit. Elizabeth and Eric.
Yeah, I'm just definitely with Alan. I feel like this fisherman and the forester came out of nowhere, literally, and they were drawn like so vividly and so vibrantly in a way that, the characters, the courtly characters do have their nuances and they have their personality traits. But I just feel like the fisherman and the forester really came to life. They kind of jumped off the page.
Especially when they could basically walk on and say, "Hello, I'm a plot device. I'm here to remove this person over here. I will have no other plot function apart from maybe a speech later on to explain how it happened." It's the fact that they've given I think everybody's been given sort of a sense of character, which is nice. Eric, then Lynn.
Well, the same thing also happens with the painter, who's kind of there for like, I will draw, sort of. I just like the idea that sort of Catherine sort of interrogating him about his own job, and he's like, okay, so do you want to draw? Huh? Do you want to do my job and I'll do yours? Huh? But obviously he doesn't. And I'm kind of, there's a part of me going, is this meant to be a comedy, or is it meant to be sort of? There's moments where it kind of like it's on the verge of falling into tragedy, and I'm like, yeah, just if you're not careful, it could just be a very bad comedy. But yeah, and also another thing I wanted to mention was that I keep picturing Rodorick as like Muttley laughing in the corner, sort of like. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it calls itself a history. I don't know how true any of this is. We've encountered history plays with a very distinctly lack of interest in actual history. But for all I know, there was a parley between the French forces at some point in the past that this refers to. I suspect not, but I'm sure it's based on a story rather than anything that's real. But it's doing all the things. It's giving us fights. It's giving us the direction of tragedy. It's giving us action. It's giving us comedy. It's doing a lot, and I think it's balancing all the threads quite well so far. Have to say, I'm not really favouring any of the plot lines myself, because I think they're all doing really interesting work. Lynn.
It's doing all the things exactly, and thinking about Elizabeth's praise of the forester and the fisherman. Yeah, I mean, there are these great little character sketches, and of course they both have a line or two about, isn't the simple life great? Isn't the life close to nature great? So they're not only these great little sort of one-off characters, but they are in fact not just a plot device, but a sort of mode signal that, okay, now we're in pastoral. So we've got political tragedy, we've got love triangles, we've got the ordinary characters and their comedy, and now we're going into kind of fairy tale romance mode because we're in the forest. And so it does all the things, but it doesn't feel like this play doesn't know what it wants to do. It feels really deliberate.
And of course, it's not unproblematic in what it's doing. I mean, we have got a disfigurement going on here for effect, and different responses to how that that plays out, because bits of it we're able to say, oh well, that's actually surprisingly nice, but obviously it's still all pretty horrible, and the way that the individual responds to it as well, as a character, because Alexandra has exited, but was making that point earlier. Is this a reaction we really want to be hearing coming from her, and how it's this is a very machismo-esque military martial male setup, but is it entirely uncritical of that? It does seem that some of this, it's by this nature, the trial of chivalry, the conventions by which all these characters are working, are they almost like these are the rules, so we have to do this now kind of thing. I might be pushing that, but maybe that's what a production might do with it. Briony.
I'm not disagreeing with what she said about that kind of machismo. It's definitely there, big time. But the females do have quite a bit going on in this, and we hear them. We hear their point of view. Whether we always agree with it is a different matter, but it's not like sometimes it's all that kind of machismo sausage fest, and then where are the women? They might get a line each. They might be referred to as somebody's wife. They don't even get names a lot of the time. So I don't know. I feel like at least here there's the chance for that to be kind of balanced out, I guess.
I mean, I don't know what the structure of the Derby's Men is in terms of, we've got two very strong in terms of at least content and scenes. Bellamira has some solid scenes. Katharina has some solid scenes. We have Thomasin, who's much more, hasn't said a lot, but and is more seen to be function for other people to do things rather than actually to say anything. So we've got at least three boy actors in this company, two of which are trusted to be given lots of words. So it's an interesting question about composition of this company, because I don't really know anything about it. So I don't know how much data there is about Derby's Men either, actually. I haven't even checked how many other Derby's Men plays we might have already done. A few, but not necessarily a lot. Eric.
I was actually wondering about the disfigurement, because there's a thing like in that description, like Burbon kind of goes, "I will wipe my passion out" and all that stuff, and then I can't actually find the line, but there's an implication that he just smeared something on her face rather than tossed it or something. I don't know exactly what he did, so production of this would definitely have to make that decision, or like sort of depending on the context, I guess. And I guess also kind of she makes a point about honor, which obviously we've this is probably the second play or third play that we've seen where a woman is sort of spotted on stage. Obviously, this for a different purpose to Three Ladies of London, but yeah, we had I think it was Conscience who spotted by Lady Luker and all them. Yeah.
I think that was more by lifestyle. I don't think that was. That wasn't so much by the unguent. That was more of venereal disease. Whereas around about the same time as this play is coming on, we have got Jack Drum's Entertainment, which has a very similar device to it, and there was another play we did recently from slightly later on that does it. So I'm wondering if there is a specific effect that we are talking about here, that there is a way of doing this that is particularly effective on stage, that someone's devised and everyone else goes, oh, we'll have that and we'll put that in our play, because it seems like it's become a thing. I don't know if 3 strikes within a couple of years is really a trend or not. It might not be, but it might be a thing. It's a particularly unpleasant plot line to be suddenly throwing in every single play, but I suppose it's dramatically effective, and I think that's again, this is another play we've done recently where effect is almost more important than it's all about how does a scene hit you. Sometimes because this is just constantly changing direction and doing lots of different things just to get the audience ticking over. Alan?
Yeah, I was just thinking, in fact, the smearing something onto somebody's face is actually a good bit of practical stagecraft, because in that process, if you've got soot or makeup of some description on the cloth that you're applying it with, you don't need any other effect action to do, because one actor is doing that to the other. You know, so it's an easy one to do. Rather than if you've got a spell cast at a distance or whatever, where you need more people involved in the process.
Elizabeth had her.
Oh yes, Elizabeth. Sorry,
Thank you, Lynn.
I was looking at a book. I apologise.
Yeah, just with what Eric was saying, I was really taken aback by the intensity of the scene where Burbon mutilates his beloved Bellamira, and you know, it kind of like it strips away all the love he says he has for her, and you just get to thinking that that's all just a selfish thing. It's just there's no love there. He's just like being self-involved. But I liked the repetition of thus in the speech. Because thus I blot out my love, and I was just thinking it was really interesting, because I always thought of like acid attacks. You know, people getting thrown acid in their faces. But the smearing is even more kind of intense and more powerful, I think, because she can't get away from him. She's obviously not strong enough to kind of defend herself. So I thought that would be a very interesting scene for actors to workshop for production.
Is because she's in a chair, or at least she is at the beginning of that's how they discover her. So I'm wondering whether Rodorick is standing behind her, holding her down. You know, that kind of action, so that that Burbon can go in and do that smearing. And you're right, the dialogue, the thus, does seem to indicate physical action. So yeah, I thought that was it was a particularly nasty scene, again in that effective way of being particularly nasty. And again, the way that Rodorick just turns to the audience and goes, ha 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 ha, he's overplayed his hand, the idiot. Eric?
Yeah, but then Rodorick kind of seems to be like going, okay, you just hold her down, I'll just watch the door kind of thing, which seems a bit weird, at least in that scene. I mean, weird as in, it sounds like something that, what do you call it, that Burbon would tell Rodorick rather than the other way around, sort of, like, it sounded like Burbon would say, you know, you hold her down, I'll do what I came to do.
Alan?
I think actually there is explicitly a line in there from Rodorick where it looks like what he's setting up is, okay, if Burbon is caught out and brought to terms for what he's just done, he's in a good position to basically inherit Bourbon's position.
Yes, that's why he talks about making sure his face is covered. That nobody can recognise him. I hope I'm disguised sufficiently. And as we all know, in early modern drama, all you need to do is put on a hat, and you are disguised magically, and no one will know you. Not even your own brother. Anyway, well, we are well past extra time. We're well past final thoughts. But I think we've had a good general discussion just now. Anyone feel that they want to throw anything extra in? Speak now, or forever wait until tomorrow. Elizabeth.
Just briefly, Bellamira's initial silence. I thought that was going to be a thing, because initially they're like, "Tell us who did this to you," and she's silent. It's like, oh no, she's like become mute with the intensity of what's happened to her. And then within a few lines, then she starts to say, "Oh yeah, it was Burbon. Burbon did it." And I just thought that her initial silence was interesting, because what purpose does that serve?
Because that question sometimes of just having characters talking to each other to tell each other information that would change the nature of what happens in a play. If you hadn't said anything, what would have happened? And also, for that matter, if Ferdinand and Pembroke had actually just talked to each other before they did the stabbing thing, rather than while they're lying there dying, that would be a very different play. So yeah, how people communicate or don't. Lynn.
Well, there's a couple of ways you could direct that. One could be that she's just so overwhelmed with what's happened to her, she can't quite get the words out. But another way that occurs to me is that she's trying to talk, but they keep not letting her get a word in edgewise. They say, "Why are you talking? Why you say the words?" And she's trying to, but they won't shut up and let her say what she needs to say.
Because surrounded by an awful lot of men in that scene. That's. We have options. Okay, we are halfway through the Trial of Chivalry. We will return to it next time. All that remains is thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. His tongue crawls as fast as the cheese doth in Germany.